We're good now.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave.
Right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second season of Bizpreneurs Women in Leadership Roles series. And my name is Thobi Mazithulela, career coach at Bizpreneur. And today we are hosting a dynamic young lady. Her name is Lucy Khofi, and I will ask her to introduce herself and introduce what we'll be talking about, which is embracing growth in leadership roles. Lucy, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. So, guys, my name is Lucy Khofi, known as Lucy Pal, which is my stage or brand name. So I'm the founder of the Real Talk with Lucy Khofi, which is an NPO that we are focusing at uplifting, educating, and empowering women in general, but not only women, even young people, including male as well, so that they know these things that women are going through. So the main thing is to just bring everyone, and then we break all these things that are considered to be taboos when it comes to women's health or reproductive health. I won't go deeper on it just now because it's an introduction. Yeah, so I love today's topic when we are unpacking embracing growth, and leadership. So I'll leave it there, guys.
Great. Thank you, Lucy, for introducing yourself. I hope everybody got that. And I'm sure, we'll have lots of questions and comments for Lucy as she tells us more about her organization. And I think one of my first questions is, where do you find the time, Lucy? I've got a profile here that I had to read through, and I'm thinking, okay, Real Talk with Lucy, founder of a doctor student at Wits, one of the Wits COVID heroes for last year, women's health activist, preacher, speaker. Where do we find the time?
I know, right? That's actually the common question, like, girl, where are you getting this time? So, guys, I think if you are called to do something, passion drives you. And in most cases, some of the things, we don't even plan to do those things. They just fill in your basket. You just see a gap and you fill it. You just see a need, you go do it. You just see people struggling and you assist them and you bring 1, 2, 3, and 4 together. And at the end of the day, you see people celebrating that. You're like, oh, wow. It was not intentional. It was not to be recognized or, to get credit, but it was just sincerely to assist. So I would say being a public servant is the only thing that drives me to do all of these things. And I want the world to be a better place. That's all that I want.
That's lovely. And I like what you said about it being a calling. So it's not something that will take a toll on you. It's something that you're passionate about. You get some gratification from it, but the rest of the world also benefits from all your activities, Lucy. I suppose one of the other questions I want to ask is, what is leadership to you? What do you understand it to be? Because when we say leader, I think it means different things to different people. So let's unpack that first, and then we'll go into, you talking about your organization and everything that you do.
Absolutely. I love this question. The past weeks, we're actually arguing about what is being a leader, and I see where people are standing, and with respect to people's perspective, what I'm going to share, it's what I believe what is a leader, and I believe I'm that person. So me being a leadership, it's someone who serves communities, it's someone who stands for other people, it's someone who's a voice for people who we don't say people don't have a voice. I don't believe in that stance. I believe that everyone has a voice, but it's the way we exercise our voice. It's like when you're having a muscle, how do you exercise your muscle to grow? There are people who are in that level where their muscles have matured. So I would say you are there as a leader, your muscle have matured, and you are lifting others up. Leadership is about empowering others to come up. It's about raising others up. It's not this thing that I'm a leader, everyone should just follow me and bow. No, it's not. That's not leadership to me. You are just controlling people. So leadership, it's working collectively with people. It's to take their ideas and ask them, how can I assist? How can we make this work together? It's not like I'm your boss and you are my employees. So no. And leaders are people who have served, are people, who are led before. You can't say you want to be a leader and you haven't served anyway. So service and serving in certain structures for me, it's very important in order to be leaders. And you need to be tested as a leader. How do you know I'm a leader? How do you know? You know, some people, they will tell you, you were born with it. It's something you were born with. And the more you go, you know, you start finding these things are coming to you. Guys, we have to be realistic that some people, we all have different personalities, and you don't have to kill yourself because you don't have those personalities of someone being a leader and all of that. So if you discover your purpose as a life coach, you know, life coaches will tell you that you need to find your niche. And once you find what you are called to do, it's very easy to navigate and make it work. So in whichever area people are, somewhere, somehow they do lead. It's just that it's not vocalized.
Thank you, Lucy. I think you've given quite a wonderful response to the question, and I'm sure a lot of people will agree with you. I'm sure there will be comments as well about what people understand leadership to be. But what I've picked up from that, the themes that come across in, I suppose, all the literature that we read about leadership, servitude being one of those, influence, empowering, as opposed to the top-down approach of saying, you know, do this because I am in that position. I think it is one of the best ways to approach it. So let's unpack then your organization, your role in that, what you define as leadership in that space, what you're nurturing in that space.
Okay, so I will start with first things first. So before Lucy started the organization and, you know, you being relevant, people, they start reading about Lucy like, okay, I've seen this girl at Wits and all of that. So I started in student leadership. So that's where I started exercising my muscle before I came out in the world. So I would say Wits kind of birthed this in me because it was like a training process. But even from a young age, I knew that, you know what, there are things that I need to do for people, you know, in this notion of practicing Ubuntu. I think it's something that I grew up with, that you need to give back to the community. You don't have to be selfish. It's all about me and all of that. So after the leadership role at Wits, and then during my master's, that's when the real talk was birthed, when I was doing my research and my mint. I was so interested, like everything I found out was like, most of these things, we don't talk about such things. And it's so unfair that people are just distributing sanitary products and there are underlying conditions that we're not talking about. And I've been approached lately by a lot of activism. They'll tell me, the activists, they'll say, Lucy, you know what, I'm giving out pads like every now and then, but I feel like I'm not doing enough. So menstrual education and all of these things, they're very important. So some of them, they'll tell you, I've been watching your videos on YouTube, I've been watching your videos on Instagram, just to get, you know, some information on how I can talk to learners when I'm distributing pads or when I'm trying to speak in these issues that are related to women's health. So my vision, it was to educate and uplift and empower people when it comes to reproductive health. And it actually happened so fast. After we started the real talk with Lucy, we've attracted quite a number of women and especially young girls and boys from, you know, high schools and primary schools. They're really interested because we don't really have a platform where we unpack such things. And it's so amazing when you go to them face to face, the way they engage in such topics. Some of them, they're like, you know what, I used to be shy, but I feel like I'm just letting it go. I just want to know, because this is not a secret that in our schools, especially in life orientation, in life sciences, and all these subjects that's supposed to cover these things in depth, it's not done, which is why we are still trying to call the Department of Education to incorporate these things. These things are very important. And I was like, what's the use of studying these things? And I have the knowledge and I write articles, I write all of these things. We know that people don't read. Some people don't read. You think there's someone who'll go and Google Lucy Khofi and read my articles? Let's talk about people in the informal settlement. They won't have that opportunity and the privilege to have access to journal articles. Some of them, they can't even read. So going to them and bringing this and breaking it down, it's much easier. So yeah, I hope I'm not too long. I'll try to.
Not at all. Not at all. I think we're enjoying what you're explaining. And again, everything that you're doing being backed by your themes or your beliefs in servitude and leading and saying, here's something. Yes, it's great that there's so many organizations or so many individuals that will come in and address one problem, which is, you know, the lack of sanitary wear in some communities. And we're saying, okay, hear all the, you know, give a girl a pad drives or whatever it is that organizations are doing. But beyond that, women or everybody else understanding their bodies, why this is happening to them, you know, why, you know, certain things should not seem normal, what they should be checking. And it's not only for the women, I suppose, it's for men as well to know, you know, whatever happens in their family, because it affects them as well. So quite inspired by what you've just shared and what drives you. So I also want us to just talk about the importance of having young women in leadership roles, Lucy. I think there's a certain passion that will drive a person to start an organization, to be able to speak about certain things, some things that are taboo in certain communities, but saying, let's open up these discussions. So I just want you to share from your own experience, you know, what are the importance of having individuals who, you know, are quite open and can share certain things with people is at this stage?
That's a good question. You know, I always tell these young girls from high school, from primary, that we need to go beyond what is classified as normal. You know, growing up, we knew there are things that are for men. There are things that are for women. I think we grew up with the wrong mentality. There are things, you know, when I was thinking about big companies and all of that, in my mind, I was like, okay, that only man can have that as their own company. And when I see, you know, successful businesses and I see a man as the CEO, I'm like, okay, that's normal. Only men can drive big ships and boats and all of that. But I think now in 2021, guys, that's what we are trying to break, those taboos. We're trying to change those stigmas that, hey, young girl, you can be a CEO. You can start your big company. Like, we want to, you know, empower them from a young age to start having different mentality. Imagine if from that age we had that mentality that, Lucy, you can start your foundation at 15 years old. You know, it's so impressive to see young girls. There are young girls who have organizations that are doing so well at 15, at 12. So if we had the same opportunity, the leadership role will be full of women. Like, we need women to take space, guys. We cannot be silent. What I was saying the other day is that the WHO, which is the World Health Organization, the policy influencers and everyone who's in the board committee mostly are men, and they have no idea what women are going through. When you talk about the endometriosis and the consequences of these things and how women are suffering, we need to have resources. Like, they don't really understand. They say it's just a bad period. So we need women, people with an experience in such conditions, to say, guys, this is not just a bad period. It goes beyond that. And we have people in rural areas or informal settlement who don't have access to such services. They end up dying. So we need to treat this with a sense of urgency. So imagine if in that committee we had a lot of women. So even in different places, when it comes to law, when it comes to in different spheres, we need women as well. We're not saying, no, we don't want men, we don't want, no. We believe in the balance. Everything should balance. A scale should balance. And young girl, wherever you are watching, please stop that mentality that I can't do it because I'm a woman. That does not exist anymore. Women lead in every role, okay? We can do anything.
That is true, Lucy. That is true. And I think you are living proof of that. And I suppose in all this, there's experiences that you've had in your organization, maybe just, you know, getting it off the ground, experiences with just being a leader, trying to influence. Can you share just what, you know, you've had to endure? You know, if there've been any challenges, who's supported you, what sort of support structure you have, so that women also understand that, you know, there is a way, or these young ladies rather can understand that there is a way around everything. If one door closes, another opens. If, you know, plan A doesn't work, you've got the whole, you know, 26 letters of the alphabet to go through. You keep trying until you go to A again. So can you share with us how you've navigated this space?
Absolutely, that's a good one. Yo, guys, it's not easy. It's not like someone will put thing in your hands and you just open your hands and say, hey, bring the magic, and yet things are working. Yes, there'll be difficulties. What I will say in my journey, I think my supervisor, because a lot of things were birthed during my master's, so it was very easy. I had a very good support structure as well. You know, the ideas that I have, I'll just run by her, and all of these things, and the support that I will get, especially getting it from a fellow woman also, that really felt so good. And when I was looking around, I don't want to lie, there are so many powerful women that have influence or have an impact in what I'm doing today, not because I talk to them, just because they're around and they're doing amazing things, which I always emphasize to people, that when you talk about mentorship, people always look at the direct mentorship, and we have indirect mentors who are really influencing us in a positive way. So yeah, so many women have been doing that, and even now I still follow them and just check out what they're doing. And when it gets more hectic, I reflect and look around and say, okay, Kinele is still doing it. You know what, girl, get up and do it. And sometimes, especially in these organizations, we're looking for funding, and sometimes sponsors are not coming on board, and you have to use things from the pocket. What I have to emphasize, some of the things, unfortunately, you have to start from the pocket. And the problem we have, we always say, I don't have enough resources. Guys, you can start touching life, even one person. You can start with one person. You don't have to sort out the entire community or the entire village. I think we underestimate the numbers. People are focusing numbers. So tell me, how many people did you assist? It's not about the numbers. Even if it's 2, that's okay. I always say, when you help one person, you can change the entire world. The person will go to the next, and the next to the next. That's how it works. It's like we're igniting this fire to each other. That's what we need, guys. It's difficult out there. And especially as a woman, there are some things, and you ask some certain sponsors that will say, you know, it's like, are you even capable of doing that? But I would say, one thing that kept me standing, it's my character, it's my personality, the person that I am. I'm fired up, I would say that. I'm not trying to brag or to be too much, but guys, like, my character keeps me going. We go like, you know what, guys, I can do this. As long as God is on my side, I can do anything, guys.
Anything can be done, Lucy, I agree. And I can't imagine anyone saying no to you. When you walk into a boardroom and pitch, does anyone say no to you?
I haven't experienced that.
Your energy is amazing.
I haven't experienced that. You know, if people that don't want to make a decision now, they'll say, okay, let's go talk to someone, but eventually they'll come back to you.
Great.
So I think as we are doing these things, it's important to get skills to approach. I always say we have street activists and we have academic activists. I'm not trying to label people, but I'm trying to say, in your position where you find yourself, you can do extremely well, but get help. Learn how to approach a business. Learn how to write a proposal. You know, use the language of the boardroom if you want sponsors. And sponsors, they need proper documentations. Some people have these organizations, but they're not registered. So you have to put your things on paper, and you have to speak. Speak on your proposal, sell your heart, speak your heart. You don't have to pretend and write script there and you are mumbling, you don't know what you say. Speak from the heart. People get the heart, guys.
Okay, I think Lucy's just shared some pearls of wisdom there. And this is across the board for anyone running an organization, anyone in a leadership role. I think beyond the confidence that one would have, having things in order. She's mentioned, you know, registering certain things, making an impact and starting small sometimes, accepting organic growth as well would make sense. But one of, you know, my favorite subjects, I suppose, to sometimes talk about is the idea of sponsorship or mentorship. And I like that you brought that up, and there are women that you are, you know, that are in your network that you can actually tap into when, you know, you need anything or you need additional capacity or maybe just a second pair of eyes to look at something that you do. And I think we need to learn that as people or women in leadership to say, yes, I've got these great ideas, I can do certain things, but there is a world that I'm operating in. There is an environment that I can actually tap into and say, please help me with ABC so that we can move forward and influence more people. That's a great one, Lucy, I think. And I suppose for those that are viewing us from home, we are open to any sort of questions, any sort of comments that we have. I will look out for them and address Lucy when it comes to that. And then I just wanted us to also speak about how one becomes an effective leader. Now, everything is set up, Lucy. You've got this foundation, you've got a few other things on the go, and you have, I suppose, people within your network that you're working with. How then have you modeled yourself to become an effective leader in that space? Do you feel that you've already reached that, or there's still some learnings as well? Because we have to know that some things come with experience. You don't wake up one day and can do everything. So please walk us through your journey of effective leadership.
I love this. I love this. You know, our topic, we're unpacking embracing leadership growth. And guys, there is no way in life when you feel like I've achieved everything, I'm done. Even you can ask great leaders that will tell you there's still so much that needs to be done. I've never had anyone would say, you know what, guys, I'm a great leader. I've done it all. I'm done. That's it. We're closing the books. There's no such. So what I'm trying to say is, guys, we are learning. So if you want to be an effective leader, be open to learn every day. Even the people around you don't have this mentality that I'm leading you. You learn from these people who are around you. You always see the gap. What can I learn from you? What can I incorporate what you're bringing into the table? You don't underestimate people's ideas that because, manje, I'm up there, I'm recognizing this and that, so my words is final and everything. That does not work. And what I love mostly is that we're working with communities that previously disadvantaged communities. I've seen a lot of researchers who are leaders in different spheres that would produce these articles and these, knowledge and everything. But I think it would be more nice if we go back to these people and say, guys, I'm proposing this to the Department of Education or to the Department of Women, Persons with Disabilities. So what do you guys think? What can we propose? You guys are living in these conditions. You guys know what it is to live here and don't have certain services, which is your human right. So let's sit down, let's brainstorm, let's unpack. That's being an effective leader. You engage with people. You don't just assume and say, okay, Lucy is staying in the rural areas. Lucy needs that water and that and that and that. Yes, I need water, but there are things I need beyond just water. Yes, I'm grateful that you are giving me pads, but I still need water, sanitation, and hygiene. So I can't bath, but I have a clean pad. I can change the pad, but I still have to bath, which is very important. So if as a researcher, you sit down and you unpack these things and how can we assist Lucy in this situation, that's really awesome. And in most cases, they will tell you, we actually have some certain herbs that we want the government to do 1, 2, 3, and 4 with these herbs. You would say, I didn't even know such herbs exist. So if we can be open to learning and engage the people that we are trying to advocate for, or we are leading, or we are serving, let's not assume that we know everything. Our duty is just to deliver to them. Same applies to government. If they can come to us and ask, guys, you are students, we know there's a crisis about funding. How can we assist than, putting billions in a different funding project, which it's not going to help some of the students. So we need to be open up, be that leader that is opening up to the people that you are serving. Let's just cancel the word you are leading them, because it sounds so wrong in many cases. So we are serving them. So let's serve together. So in my experience, what I've been doing is to really engage with people. Even when you talk about these simple conversations, I'm always ahead of the future. In the next 10 years, I don't want to be here. So when I share kind of the plans, guys, how can you be part of it? I want to empower you that in the next 5 years, you say, Lucy, launch me to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't want to be that person who do things for herself, you get recognized. I want other people to come up as well, which speaks so deeply in my heart.
That's lovely. And you've again touched on something that I think Bizpreneur as a whole is very passionate about, which is building a legacy. And you've just said that you want to do all these things, but at some point you want to pass the baton. You want someone else to be able to say, Lucy did this and I'm going to be able to, and I'm going to continue running this race, which I think is very important as we build these organizations, as we lead in our spheres of influence as women. And I suppose any leader actually wants to build that legacy, to say this is going to go on forever. And one of the other things that came up as you were talking, Lucy, is that, these conversations that you are having, the communities that you're going into, obviously there are certain, I mentioned earlier, certain topics that are taboo, certain things that people find that they can't speak freely about, whether with family or with, other people in the community. What has the reception been? What has your experience been as that leader walking into these communities saying, let's open up this box and talk about this? Have people been very receptive? Or have you had to do a lot of educating around why these conversations need to be had?
The most funny way, I would say, so when I actually started, I would find young people being more, they're not opening up. They found it more, okay, I cannot talk about this. This is so wrong. I was taught not to mention things such as sex, for instance. When you talk about things of having babies and all of that, what's happening in my uterus, it's like, yeah, that's for old people stuff. So we had to break and dismantle such taboos first before even talk about period. It's like, you can't talk about that dirty thing. Like, you can't talk about period, especially in front of my parents. I can't. I actually even had setups where you're going to have older people and young people. It's like, it doesn't work to have those groups in the same room. Even the older generation, they're not comfortable to talking to these young generation about, guys, this is what's happening, because no one taught them these things. They had to navigate it through, and now they are protecting their daughters. The first thing they would tell you, if my daughter is getting period, I'm like, she's gonna have a baby. No. That's the first thing they tell them. It's like, if a 9-year-old is having a period, so boys at school, they're assuming that that child has started having sex already because you are having a period. So a period and sex, there's just that similarity where things are happening when you are busy. You're busy. You're not even a teenager, but you're having sex already, which is a misconception. So we still had to break a lot around those, but I'm so glad I can see the conversation is going, even though at school, they are not really getting these conversations, which that's where they're supposed to get that. If I can't be honest, I really didn't get, the in-depth of these things. We're just touching up that, yeah, you'll see blood and that's it. Like, they didn't really unpack, why am I seeing this blood? What's going on? Because now it's like the egg has failed to fertilize, which means the egg was supposed to catch something, which is a baby. You get worried, like, I didn't sleep with anyone, but my egg failed to fertilize and to catch a baby. That's what I was taught at school. Some people, they would tell you, when I had my first period, I cried, I panicked. That which means something is happening in my body when I'm sleeping. They start bringing spiritual things, traditional things, and it scares kids. And all the generation, they're like, we can't break it down for them, unfortunately. It's not how some people don't tell you. Culturally, we can't break these things down. We can't. There's that barrier that you can't talk about such things. But I'm so grateful that now the conversation is going. Even at school, there's some teachers who are leading in these conversations, who are trying to bridge the gap. And people can find us on social media nowadays. It's so easy to access us, and it's so easy to read our posts. We are trying to speak about all things. They send us DMs, and we're getting the conversation going, guys. Understanding your bodies. That's very important.
Okay, and breaking barriers. I like that. Again, there's that passion of saying, yes, it may be stuff that maybe in certain cultures, it's conversations that we can't really have, but let's have them. Let people understand. Don't get, one young girl alarmed at what's happening to her body when it's the most natural thing at the end of the day. And, the comments that have come through, Lucy, we've got T. Mandy saying, I love your passion, Lucy. You're inspiring. You're definitely fired up. And I think we can all feel that. And another comment from Amina that says, periods have always been spoken about as a dirty thing, something to keep a secret, something shameful. At that time, it's just development. So Amina says she loves the work that you're doing in this sphere, Lucy, because it's such a huge crisis to the female identity. And I agree with that, because one of the reasons why I asked this question about how are you navigating, what are the challenges? Are you able to freely have these conversations? Because we know we come from some communities where it's just not spoken about, but there we go, unpacking it. And Lucy is driving that as a young woman leader. And then one of the other questions that I wanted to ask you as well is, in your journey, with this organization, with everything that you do, I think it's important to understand that as a leader, there are people that you take along, or you need to take along some people, so that at some point that legacy actually lives on, as we said. So I just wanted to find out from you what you are doing as a young leader to actually engage other young women or other young leaders, really, to encourage them to be brave enough to have the passion and to open up and say, let's talk about certain things, whatever it is that they want to lead on, and just say it can be done and will be done by these young people.
Yes. So, one of the things when I started this whole thing, I was like, as I've mentioned before, guys, getting sponsorship, it's very difficult. And I would see some activists, they'll be posting that, I'm trying to help, but I don't get help. Like, I'm trying to help other people. What do I do in this situation? Should I just, throw the towel and say, this is not for me? Lucy's and them will do it because they have sponsorship. And people who are like Lucy, maybe they have an advantage now because companies, they approach them and say, hey, Lucy, I have a gig for you. Let's do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Lucy, I have a campaign for you. Let's do. And there's an activist who's at home who wants such opportunities, but those opportunities are not coming to them. And I was like, you know what, there's something we are cooking with my team. So it's an education trust, but we will be giving back to activists who are giving out pads and all. We're in this line of interest that we are doing. So we want to be sponsors to them. I say that it was the beginning of this year. I was like, I want to be a sponsor. I'm tired of asking people to sponsor me. Who's sponsoring that young girl at Soweto? Who's sponsoring that woman in Zamimpilo and all of these places? So we're super excited that we are cooking this business and we're going to be supporting you guys. So very soon we'll be putting everything out there on social media platforms so you can follow us and check what we're doing. And trust me, it is our passion to see other people doing amazing things and touching communities, because sometimes such lack of access would discourage people. We come with this magnitude, I want to do 1, 2, 3 with the zeal and the energy, and things are not going well. Some people don't have the energy that Lucy has, though. They let me just leave it. So we want to be there for you, and we want to encourage you to keep on doing what you're doing. And we're planning to have, some seminars where we invite all the activists and encourage each other. What do you do if things are getting difficult? And how can you reach out to other activists? And don't do things on your own, collaborate. I always encourage people, collaboration, guys, it's so important. It's not a one-man show, like this is Lucy's thing. Lucy must do this and all of that. No. I want people, and especially people who are not known about, like, okay, there are people who just call and say, hey, I have a gig. No, I want to, can you give it to Nondando? She is doing 1, 2, 3, and 4, Soweto, and all of that. I think that would be lovely if we have that mentality of passing opportunities to other people. But unfortunately, nowadays, it's like people are building their own legacy, which is so good. You have to build something that is sustainable, that is long-term, but keep on lifting others up, as I've been saying. If you are so driven that it's me, I've been partnering, I've been collaborating with amazing activists who are doing groundwork, amazing work. Like they will tell you, Lucy, I've had this one and this one needs this and this. Are you available? And yeah, girl, I'm available. And when I get the same thing, I text someone else, hey, are you available? There's this gig, this and this. So let's leave like that. Let's pass opportunities around, guys. That's the only way to create this legacy that is not a one-man show, but it's for everyone.
No, agreed. And I like that you are actually building, I think, formal structures to actually address these things of engaging young leaders, bringing them into the fold, saying, it can be done. I've done something. I'm still learning, but can actually impart some knowledge and ensure that those behind me, or even those that have gone ahead of me, have something to learn from, the bit that I'm doing for the world. And with all this happening, I'm very curious because I work with, a group of entrepreneurs, and it's all about work. If you are not working, then you know what's happening to you. Nothing's coming in. But there's some point where our bodies need to rest, where we need to find some balance, where we need to put a pause button and just say, let me take this hat off and just be and enjoy. So how do you do that, or how would you sort of advise people in leadership roles or young women who are looking to get into this space, who are looking to lead in some aspect? How do you tell them, at some point, slow down, and how do you find balance?
absolutely. I love that. I would share something very personal, guys. So I remember, when I work, right? I'm that person who puts everything in it, and I was having that mentality. I don't have time to rest, which was a wrong concept. Like, why you don't have time to rest? And guys, I suffered from exhaustion. Like, I was so tired. Guys, I would wake up now, it's the morning. I feel like my body, I can't even lift I was so exhausted to the point that I had to go and get drip. That's how tired I was. Guys, that's not healthy. Please don't burn out. Yes, it's important that we are building, but just imagine you're building something so big of this magnitude, and God forbid, and then you die because you are tired, and some people must carry it over, or they don't even carry it over because it's not their vision. So please, when you're building, make sure that I need to be healthy to see this vision going on, and I need to be contributing in a healthy state, because when you're sick, you're going to go to the hospital for some months or weeks, you're not going to be able to work. And guys, let's prioritize our mental health while we're doing these things. It gets so exhausting out there. And sometimes we're having busy days, hectic schedule. You feel so drained, you feel so tired, you feel like emotionally I'm breaking down. Seek professional help when you feel so tired. Don't say, I'm a leader, I'm strong, I can do this, I'll bounce back. That doesn't work. Get a therapist. I have my therapist, guys. We're trying to say we're normalizing to having a psychologist, normalizing to have a therapist where you feel like, I'm tired. This and this has been happening in my organization. I just want someone to release everything. Have that safe space where we release all these things, because at times some people, they become these ruthless and angry leaders because of what they've been experiencing along the way, and they've internalized the anger. And now they've turned to be those angry leaders. So it's important that if people are not treating you in these spaces, you go seek help, speak to your therapist, your psychologist, and you'll be a good leader. Let's tell these people who are coming up, it's okay, guys, to seek psychological help. There's this notion that you are too weak. How can you be a leader and you're busy seeing a psychologist? Who can you lead if you're not mentally stable? Guys, that's crazy. Seeking help has nothing to do with your stability, your mental state. Let's break those stigmas. And it's so amazing to see psychologists creating these safe spaces everywhere. That, guys, it's okay to seek help. And not to, we are coming and saying, it's okay to seek help. It's okay.
Yes, I agree with you on that one. And I think you've touched on something that not only women just struggle with, it's people across the board. Putting your hand up and saying, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I need to rest. We feel like we're missing out on something. Even that little rest when you sit on your sofa and you think, let me take half an hour, there's something that's going to distract you. Social media, who said this, and WhatsApp statuses, let me see who's doing this on Twitter. And the mind just isn't resting. So I'm glad that you're giving that advice that say sometimes, you need to switch off. You need to just say the body needs this and I'm going to do it. And also the other very important aspect of saying, let me ask for help. Put your hand up if exhaustion is there. Put your hand up if mentally you're feeling you're not coping. There are people that are equipped to deal with that and are going to help. And I suppose a healthy leader is a great leader then when that happens. Yeah. I've got a question for you from Nogwanda. Nogwanda, thank you very much for this question. Starts off by saying, thanks for this great conversation. I'm so fascinated by Lucy's drive. As a young Black leader, what is the one thing that has kept you going? And where do you draw your inspiration from?
I like that. Thank you so much, Nogwanda. So one thing I would say, guys, what kept me going, simple, is God.
Wonderful.
Guys, that's, I'm not ashamed, I'm not apologetic about it, guys. God has been sustaining me. And I believe that everything that I get is divinely from him. Everything I execute, everything that I build. And so that's my biggest motivation, because I know the blueprint, I know what he has called me to do in this world. So I think that's the biggest thing. And I have, the passion also, it drives me. It's something that is bubbling up within your belly. When it's that deep, girl, you just want to do things. So that really helps. It's something that is exciting. As you've mentioned earlier, it doesn't feel like a burden, like, oh, I have to do this, I don't want to do it. But it feels like, the more I do it, I feel that peace. I feel that, I have to be doing this. It feels so good. And I have a lot of people who have been inspiring me. So firstly, it's my supervisor, Professor Leno Mendelssohn. She has been amazing. And Professor Kheti Pageng, you know, that's my to-go person. So I have a lot of people that are inspiring me, but for now, I'll just mention those two. They have been amazing, amazing, and amazing.
And thank you to those two wonderful women and everybody else in your network, actually, who's holding you up, who's saying we're here to support you, we're here to say your journey is going to go on. I think that's commendable, you know, for the world to see. And another comment's come up. Bongani Chadi says, indeed, Lucy's fired up. I think everyone can feel your energy. And we also have another question, or rather a comment really, from Team Andy, who says, rest is important. Thank you for emphasizing that. Exhaustion has been glorified. And I think you've touched on that, the fact that people just want to go on, like the battery doesn't go, and until, you know, the body says, okay, now I'm shutting down. What are you going to do about it? So thank you for emphasizing that. And I suppose another thing that I would like to know, Lucy, is you've got a really great initiative going. What is it really that you look out for? What is it that you would want to leave everybody with today to say, you know, if you're going to engage your organization, if, you know, one's going to send an email to you, or even any sort of sponsorship, or anything that they can contribute, what, you know, where do they find you? What is it that you need from the community?
So thank you for asking that. So what we do in this organization, it's not a one-man show. I always emphasize that we have a team that is standing together, not behind me. I've had people say a team is behind me. No, 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 no. People were standing together with me. So we're saying, guys, we want girls, young girls, you know, there are stats that girls, they are missing school. Some of them, they have to drop out because they're having a period. You know, having a period doesn't have to feel like a condition. It doesn't have to feel like a disease or something that is a curse. Some girls will tell you that I had to drop out from grade 9 because I was cursed. And you ask, why were you cursed? What do you mean you're cursed? Because I started my period and I did not afford sanitary products. I was using cloth and I was always leaking and I was a joke, and that killed my confidence even today. So we are saying we are prioritizing young girls out there. We want them to have the education, and we have some initiatives that are connected to promoting this learning and this education and this empowerment, which is providing funding for kids who get to grade 12, they finish the matric. And we say, yeah, we've been partnering, we've been working with these different schools, and they're from this disadvantaged communities. And we say, go to varsity, yes, funding for you. We don't want to just be, you know, limited in the sphere of, we want to talk about period and it ends there. And we believe in the power of education, because most cases, if you can't get to grade 9, you won't get to varsity, which is it's a painful fact, guys. It's a painful fact. So it's something we are trying to fight. And I see a lot of activists across the country, across South Africa or globally, we are fighting the same thing, period poverty. We want girls to have access to these things. It's a necessity, guys. It's important, and it's a human right to have access to such things. So we call upon the civil society, government, everyone is watching. Wherever you can assist, please be part of this good thing that is going. You can start your own thing. You can partner with people like us or other organizations that are out there, but let's make a difference together. You know, there are people who will tell you, yes, I afford pads, I have all of these things, but I have menstrual conditions and I don't understand what are these things. And let's stop this thing to say, we can't go to such schools because they afford. Let's remove that notion. Some of them, they don't have this education about menstruation, about these conditions. Let's not discriminate schools. Let's not discriminate backgrounds. Let's assist collectively and touch everyone's lives at once.
No, I really like that. I think you're making us aware of certain things that maybe some of us will take for granted, things that we don't think about. You think, oh, I can walk into any pharmacy or any store and pick up a packet of pads, pick up you know, a pack of tampons, and I'm out of there, I'm fine. But you never think that there's somebody else out there who firstly needs to understand their body, get education around why certain things are happening, and get to a point where they accept. It's not shameful it's actually a bodily function. That's who you are as a woman, I suppose. And I like that you are driving that in these communities. And I suppose I also wanted to touch on something that you have mentioned, which is the importance of educating people, but also the importance of educating yourself as a person, or getting an education. And I remember when I received your profile, the first thing I saw was, your academic sort of accolades, and I thought to myself, what is medical anthropology? And I thought that's something that I should ask in case anybody else wants to understand that, besides Lucy's passion, besides this organization, what's the academic driver behind this? Because I believe that there's research that you've done, there's all sorts that's come into that as well, that has really driven you to understand the communities or the area that you work in.
Absolutely, that's a good one. So I always tell people that the work that I'm doing, it's driven by my academics mainly. That's the main thing. So as I mentioned when I was talking earlier, that what's the use of getting all this knowledge and keep it to yourself? So it's important that we take out what we know to people. So guys, in simple terms, what is medical anthropology? It's a study of medicine profession. We study medicine profession, I remember I was reading this other article, and it's so funny. I'll be very brief. So a medical anthropologist with a PhD, was a doctor, went to see a doctor, and the doctor was asking, what do you actually do? You medical anthropologist, you're a doctor. It's like, I'm actually studying your practice. I'm studying your work. I'm studying you. So mainly, guys, and we are trying to balance. We've noticed that mostly, especially in medicine and all these studies, they have certain components that they focus on when they're doing their research and their studies. So as medical anthropologists, we also bring the social aspect of things, which we are bringing real experiences of people, which we value people, which is why my value of collaborating with individuals and really listen to them and take their input. It's from where I'm coming from in my field of study. So maybe if I was from a different field, of course, I would be doing things in a different way. So yeah, we respect people's perspective and field of studies. But guys, if you can, try to engage with people in simple terms. Yeah, simple terms.
And thank you for simplifying that for us. I was one of the ones whose mind was boggled. I just thought, okay, let me go and Google this, but I wanted to ask the question as well, so that everybody has the benefit of understanding that as much as there's the passion, there's a drive towards certain things, you have backed that up with your academic background, and are driving, I suppose, in the academic spheres, that people conduct research and shed more light into certain areas. And I suppose there's a lot that we've shared today, Lucy, and you've spoken so much about your growth as a leader, as a young woman, as everything that you have been doing. And I just want to ask you, in parting, what it is that you'd like to leave our viewers with, anyone that's listening to us at the moment, any encouragement, any words of wisdom that you want to share to ensure that you are leaving an impact, I suppose, on the group that's here, and whatever they carry over and what they tell people about Lucy and your organization.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This has been, a good conversation, and I'm like looking at time. I'm like, no ways. Thank you so much. So guys, one thing I would tell you, I'm not a motivational speaker, but I'm that person who believes that we need to cultivate our minds. We need to shift the way we think, because I've noticed a lot of people, we are just blocking ourselves. You just think about it and say, it's impossible. Let me not even try it. I want to encourage you to start those things that are terrifying you. When you write it down, you go like, me, Tato, can I even do this? Me, no ways. I dare you, try those things. Let's not limit ourselves. Let's not box ourselves in one box and say, I will do what I'm relevant to. No, Lucy has the education background and I don't have it. How can I do it? Don't ever underestimate yourself. You have all the backup. You have the backup that you can do it. Some people, guys, we need to respect people's fears. Some people are entrepreneurs. Some people are hustlers. Some people, you know, we are in different spheres, and you need to understand your niche and understand where you are supposed to be functioning and operating and making an impact. And don't try to be someone else. That doesn't work. If you're going to try to be Elo now, you're going to try to be Lucy, that won't work. Just try to be yourself and be unique and do things as you want to be remembered. Remember, we are building legacies. We don't want to be doing duplicates and copies. We want to be unique, new, original things.
Thank you for those really great parting words. I think you've fired people up. People are encouraged. People are sending comments through saying how inspiring you are, the good energy that has come across, and just the good work that you're doing, particularly with communities, with young girls, and really showing us, you know, that women can grow as leaders. And speaking about this in this Women's Month is very important to highlight to people that there's so many parts that one can take. As long as you have the conviction, the confidence, the passion, and I think the right mindset and the support around you. I think those are the themes that you touched on, to say lean in. If you need the support, say so, but keep going. I'm also touching on, you know, the aspect of resting the body, to say, yes, we want to juggle all these balls, but at the end of the day, there is a point where there has to be some balance to say, if I'm going to go on, if I'm going to build this and make it work, then the rest needs to come in. So I must thank you very, very much, Lucy, for keeping us so engaged, for sharing your passion with us, also for sharing about your organization. I think everybody, you know, will have a look at what exactly it is that your organization does at this stage, and you'll probably get a lot more people and a lot more interest there. I want to thank you for that. And I just want to close off, I suppose, with a comment from one of our listeners. It was Amina, who said, loved this conversation. Definitely motivated. I think nothing's been in vain here. We've also got Nogwanda, who says, great initiative, Lucy. I think you've inspired a lot of people, and that's what we're really grateful for. And I suppose that's what leadership is about, not telling people what to do, but influencing and saying this can be done. So I just want to thank you for that, Lucy. And,
thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Guys, before I go, I have to mention this. Yes. So we are cooking something, as I've mentioned before. Please look out. Imfundo Enhle will be launched very soon, which is something exciting for students. So yeah, I won't say much about it now, but definitely, hopefully we'll be back here to unpack it. So yeah, but just look out on that. And you can catch me on Instagram. It's Lucy Khofi _Pearl. On Twitter, it's Pearl Khofi. And on Facebook, it's Lucy Pearl.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Lucy. So you've heard everybody, there's something that's, you know, in the kitchen. It's going to be served to us soon. Imfundo Enhle, as Lucy mentioned, and please do follow her. I've seen her profiles on LinkedIn. I'm following her on Instagram as well. You did mention another platform, Lucy. Was that Facebook?
Facebook, yes.
Yes, so there is Facebook as well. We will post on our page what, you know, those handles are, so that you're able to follow that. But we must thank everybody for joining us today. I hope you're all fired up. I hope you all understand that leadership has no limits, that everyone can do exactly what it is they're passionate about and influence people and make a difference in, you know, in your own right. And we are going to continue with the Women in Leadership role series. I think the final conversation that we are going to have is going to be on the 31st of August at 6 p.m. as well. Please do join us. We will have one lady, Amina Mwai-Kwambo, who is a counseling psychologist. So there is going to be more interesting in conversations to have there. So thank you very much, everybody, and all the best. Lucy, thank you, and keep doing the good work.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.